Capes and Cowls, we are back. It is the big thing. It is our Capes and Cowls episode. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the show. There's a lot of different things that we could potentially talk about today. That's right. I'm definitely going to bring it up at one point. Someone will. I definitely will. Angela Bassett is not only getting nominated for everything, she's winning everything. And we'll talk about that. Batman getting nominated for some stuff. Channing Tatum finally said, okay, fine, I guess I'm not going to do Gambit. Shazam 2 added to the list of movies that's getting a China release. That's going to happen. James Gunn, he was on Twitter. Can you believe it? Yep. He was on and he responded to somebody. Can you believe it? I can, because he does it all the time. And this time they said, hey, is your Guardians cast going to be in the DCU? And he responded. We'll talk about that. And Jeremy Renner on the mend. These are all topics that we could hit here today with myself and Winston and Coy. And we have a lot of things to talk about. So if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, thank you so very much. Make sure that you do that. You can, if you didn't know that you could do that, every one of our shows, our long-form shows, are on the podcast feed. So you can go to Apple, you can go to Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. So it helps out the show tremendously. Even if you watch us on the YouTubes, make sure that you listen to us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us get these wonderful sponsors that we have gotten. Patreon.com/thebigthingshow, man. We've done some wonderful Q&As. We're going to release the Antman rewatch this month, and Antman and the Wasp will be next month. We also, what else? Merchandising. You can get the Show Some Class, which I'm wearing, the Capes and Cowls shirt, which Winston is wearing today. Coy is representing no one but himself. It's a Flirt and Flouse, which I am also wearing underneath this, the big thing. And you don't know ish. That's right. Wear that to the grocery store and just flex your chest out. Of course, you wear that at the gym. And then last but certainly not least, the Black Knight, the big thing. It is on the store now.
I haven't seen it yet.
You can get it. It is wonderful, and it's starting to go. It's starting to go quick. So make sure you you check it out. Oh man! All right. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm sticking with it. Let's do it, man. Let's get into Capes and Cowls. Me and Winston and Coy, and we're excited. And Boom Studios will be back today as well. I'm excited about that. All right, you ready? Cool. I'm done talking. Let's do it. Welcome back, everybody. Big Thing Capes and Cowls. It's me, Coy Jandro, Winston A. Marshall. That's right. We're all back.
What up?
It's a Star Labs shirt. It's not me. It's DC everywhere.
Bitch, you know Star Labs ain't real?
I'm wearing a DC shirt every day until James Gunn says something.
You know
one day it's gonna be accurate.
You know it's not real, right?
I've been to Star Labs. Actually, I've been to the set, so like kind of is real to me. I went to Jitter's Coffee. I went to the Star Labs set, so I got to experience it.
I had to shove so much animosity down when you said I was on that set. I almost yelled, hey, and I remembered
what set are we
show.
talking
It's the
about?
Flash set.
The Flash set.
My friend's on the show.
All right.
Oh, who?
She plays Nora. My friend Jess.
Oh, I didn't know you knew her.
Yeah, Jess and I go. That's why I was in South Africa for Africa Bird and stuff. I was with Jess on Black Sails. So
I
went
believe
to
you.
that set.
I believe you when you say these things, your friend and stuff. I do believe you. I'm telling you that. But sometimes I always wonder.
You heard that robot too, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah, it's stupid. TV sometimes just
Oh,
goes off
okay.
when
I was
when
like,
you're
Jesus
talking to
Christ. I thought I
someone.
literally was starting to hear voices, and it's been a weird year already.
But did you ever have that friend that like would say like, yeah, my friend Joe. He's like, you met him once, and he's like, yeah, we passed by each other in the parking lot. It's my buddy.
She flew me to South Africa. That's a real friend.
Okay,
but I
that's
do have bad habits. I've been working on it.
Yeah,
The star beepery
buddy.
is something I'm working on.
It's my buddy.
She flew you to South Africa. You got a sugar mama?
I mean, it was a good time going to Black Sail sets and then Flash and such.
I'm very proud of you.
But with the set.
Oh man!
Well, we're back. We're all together again and happy again. And look, we'll call it what it is. January has been slow, slow, but it's about to change. We've been talking about. So we're going to be going on a little bit of I can't say tour yet, because the goal is we're going to do 3 shows live, and I think the first show is going to be in Los Angeles, aiming for a March-April type of date. Don't know yet. Aiming for New York in June, and then aiming for Chicago somewhere in September, October. Nothing is final, any of that. But as I was talking to the guys, is that we're building up because we're just around 64,000. We're almost at 64. Yeah, we're almost at 64. So if we can get to, like, I've always wanted to do 70. I thought that would be more. But I want to know from you guys in the comments as we're talking about this, any one of those shows, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, can you get there? Will you be able to be there? Because I need to, when I'm talking to the promoter, it's like, well, how many people do you think you can get there? And back in the day when we were doing Schmodown events, Skybound was paying for it. Patreon was able to pay for a lot of this stuff too. I'm really doing this stuff. I'm going to be funding this thing. So it's either three shows, and that's the end of it, or you guys come out, say you enjoy the show. We also have to put on a good show.
Yeah, I mean, that's on us. That part's on us.
Yeah, and people are wondering what it's going to be. It's going to be stand up for the first hour, and then the second hour will be a show. It'll probably be definitely for New York. I think half of it will be Capes and Cowls, and half of it will be myself, Brett, and Roxy.
Cool.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out.
That's where heroes live in New York. Let's do it.
I'm here for it. Look, I can go up on there and do my own 5-minute set about crackers. It'll be great.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
it's a good sell.
It's a good sell.
It's a good sell.
That 95% of this audience, I'm just calling them crackers for 5 minutes.
Well, yeah.
So that's how you sell the tickets. That's how you get butts.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Winston will not be on the show. So. Coy will just be wearing the Black Knight shirt on representing.
The Winston pin on it.
Yeah. We wish you were here. He's Skype in the last 3 minutes.
Oh my God! And you
Yeah,
just cut right there.
Kristian on the button, ready to cut.
It was my favorite TikTok video that I saw. Was I think, did you send it to me? You might have sent it to me. When at Subway, when the guy walks up to the black lady behind the counter, he goes, "You guys sell crackers here?" She's like, "Oh, do you guys serve crackers here?" She goes, "We serve everybody."
yeah. That shit killed me, bro.
It was hilarious. All right, listen.
Do you guys feel like the news is slow because everyone's waiting on James Gunn?
I mean, I don't think that's the only reason.
I mean, the studio competition though, direct competition.
No.
Okay, because I feel like it's just there's this pulse.
No, because Disney's ramping up. You got the Mando trailer. Obviously Antman comes out next month, so there's nothing to do right for them right
That's
now.
a good point.
January is slow in general, even with stuff like you look at Mandalorian trailer that came out, the Scream trailer that came out. Traditionally in January, even big things that hit those do okay. Yeah, they just do okay for some reason.
Nice to rest. I've been enjoying it.
The film industry, take out the summer, obviously, because most people didn't go to summer school. If you did for a little bit. But it's very similar to school. You got off for the holidays, and then you don't get a major test or anything until near the end of the month. And
that's a good point.
It's kind of the same mentality. The industry has to ramp back up. To that point, I mean, I was even telling Kristian before we started, all of a sudden now the auditions are coming again.
Yeah.
It's been quiet for a month, and now here we go. So
it's the first month I've lost subscribers on my YouTube, and maybe it's because of the Black Knight incident, but I really think it's because of there's just been
I would hope that would have added them.
But it's been the first time I've been oh, it's slow enough that I don't have stuff to put out, and then people are noticing in the first time in YouTube, which is different. I also have not had anything other than to continue. We're making all this comedic content, but we're just waiting.
Waiting. Yeah, I mean, look.
We said last year how much February on was going to be bananas, but I didn't expect it to be 0 to 100. I thought it'd be 0 to 60, 60 to 100.
January, February was fairly slow last year too. I mean, you were coming off of Spider-Man, and then it started to slow down a little bit, and then it just picks back up. It's just the way it is. Yeah, it's slow at the moment. Anyway, let's get into some stuff because I'll go ahead and I'll start. And as I mentioned up top, I want to talk about Angela Bassett, man. I remember us talking about this on whenever it was. I think when Black Panther just come out, and I don't like to be. I don't want to gloat, but I'm going to gloat. All of us are going to gloat because the three of us all said that this was an Oscar-nominated type performance, not nomination type of performance for Angela Bassett in awards. And I remember, and a lot of people were saying that to be completely fair, but I just remember a few comments, and this one guy in particular, LOL, you think she's going to be nominated for awards for this? LOL. Well, LOL's on you, Pally, because she's being nominated all over the board. So she's been nominated for tons of stuff. She won the Golden Globe. She won the Critics' Choice. And here is a little bit more. This year's BAFTA nominations now have been revealed, with Black Panther Wakanda Forever star Angela Bassett once again receiving a Best Supporting Actress nod. And Batman also gets some love. But if you look at all the Wakanda Forever, Angela Bassett landed yet another Best Supporting Actress nod, and based on recent wins, she's now guaranteed to walk away with the award. This is some comic book movie. That's expected to be the case at the Oscars as well, and there's no denying that both wins could be well-deserved following her moving, incredible performance. All right, we'll get to the Batman thing in a second because I want to talk about Miss Bassett. Okay, man, this is a big... I mean, there are performances, obviously, in the comic book that have been nominated and have won. Yeah. Angela Bassett being nominated it's so well deserved. It is, and then I don't think it's one of these things. Well, Chadwick had passed, so we got to make sure that we nominate. It's like, no. I like that movie. There's no arguing of how powerful she is every time she's on screen in that film. Yeah. Every single time, from the opening scene where she's in it, the first time we see her, and then there's a particular scene with Okoye that is just, I mean, that's the one I think, if she wins the Oscar, I think it's because of that scene in general. But yeah, Winston, I mean, we had talked about this, that she was probably going to get the nomination and potentially win. Nomination was like, she's got to get nominated for this. We even said, do you think she's going to get nominated? She should. The win was a little bit outside of who knows, because they don't normally go for comedy. Are you surprised that she's winning as much as she's winning?
No, for a couple of reasons. I mean, in theory, I guess I should be, but one, you're talking about one of the most talented, decorated actresses ever. And the only thing that's really kind of stopped it is everybody has put respect on her name. She's gotten the Oscar nom before. She got it, for Tina Turner?
And, 94.
What was that? Not Love Don't Cost a Thing.
What's Love Got to Do with it?
What's Love Got to Do with it? Sorry, Love Don't Cost a Thing is a Nick Cannon movie. What's wrong with me? So I don't play the Shmodown.
Shmodown's dead.
That's the other reason he doesn't play the Shmodown. That's reason number two.
That's the only reason.
Oh Jesus. But
Bibiani still plays Shmodown.
But I don't know many actresses. I don't know many actors. Period. I mean, both it doesn't matter. That has the kind of clout, that has the kind of talent, that has put together such a string of performances in the course of their career that hasn't ultimately gotten the gold. And I don't think that this is a situation where it's like, here's a gimme Oscar, BAFTA, or anything for her. I think it's just a situation where people are remembering the whole remember who you are, show them who you are. Like, she did that. She really, really did. And there's no argument, I think, that this, for me, is the strongest acting performance out of all of the MCU. And it doesn't necessarily mean that other characters weren't more riveting per se. Like, say, what Thanos did, what Killmonger did, all that kind of stuff, you might think of. But as far as just straight acting their ass off, I genuinely cannot think of anybody that's topped her like that.
Of course, she had a very daunting task also, right? Because she's representing what we're all feeling with Chadwick Boseman's loss, and not even this reality and fantasy kind of blending together, where she's got to take this whole thing with the loss of Chadwick, but the loss of her son, and she's got to use it in that scene. So she had to represent that as well. So I think that's another reason why it's so powerful.
I think this particular nomination is a really cool confluence of three different things. You've got the reality of us all feeling the loss of both Chadwick and T'Challa as one key factor. You've also got Angela Bassett being so powerful in the industry for 30 plus years, including that 94 is a while ago. And so I think that was also a moment of she's in this $1 billion movie. People are remembering Angela Bassett to scale, right? She's been on TV, she's been on in movies, but I think this was a big oh my God, that's right, it's Angela Bassett. And then third, I do think there is an element of everyone in this movie is incredible, and then she's above that in a way in performance. Everyone in this movie does such good work, and the movie feels like a movie of great performances. But then the first thing we all wanted to talk about was Angela Bassett. As soon as we came. So in a movie that's already at a 9, she found a way to be an 11, on top of it being her long legacy of career, on top of it being the eye line. It is, I think, the perfect storm of she should win.
We were talking about Angela Bassett. What happened?
Wait, oh
what
did
he
God.
Do now?
What I say? What I do?
At a movie that's at a 9, she's at an 11.
Well, we were talking about Angela Bassett, by the way. Yeah, but
I get it. I don't know why, but if I hear those two numbers together, I instantly am like, so I don't know. I'm sorry,
Guys. It's inevitable.
Yeah,
It's every week. I'm gonna find a way.
well, we were talking about Angela Bassett when the trailer came out.
Yeah.
Yes, we were.
That's the thing. It's like if she does that in the movie, then because like I said, I've talked about it many times over. I think the movie's more like a 7.5, like 8 than say a 9.
I'm saying performances. Sorry, I was
performance is definitely.
Yeah, I'm saying everyone. I think the movie's about the same.
No argument. But it's every time she steps on to the screen, you cannot take your eyes off of her.
Yeah.
And so I do think that I can't imagine there's a lot of people who push back of why she's being nominated at all. But let me ask you guys this question now too. After seeing the wins from Golden Globes, and I know Golden Globes have lost a lot of their kind of oomph over the last couple of years, but still.
Every week I forget to turn off my medicine.
That's fine. But then we have this other BAFTA, whether she wins the SAG award. So let me ask you. I'm gonna put you guys on the spot here. Does she win the Oscar? Now remember, not just because of the performance though, but think about it because the Oscar committee and
it's always legacy.
But it's also a matter of will the Academy vote for a comic book performance? So that's why, like, because we've changed the game a little bit when it comes to like Critics' Choice. Absolutely knew that could happen. Mm-hmm. Golden Globe again knew that it was possible to happen from the voting as far as it's not as tight as the Academy. So with that being said, does Angela Bassett win the Academy Award? Winston,
do you off the top of y'all's heads remember the other performances she's kind of up against in this award season right now?
Let's see who she was up against. I'll tell you who she was up against. Like if you even
because my short answer is yes, because you did it with Heath Ledger. I don't think it has to be a situation where you
also
have
it's a
to
Black
die.
Panther award, which it's already set a precedent with the first one that is it's seen differently.
Absolutely. So you have that.
I think it's Stephanie Hsu and Jamie Lee Curtis from Everything Everywhere both. I think both up for best supporting.
That's tough too.
If that's the case, Jamie Lee was incredible, but I think she's got Jamie Lee. That's not. I don't. To me, Jamie Lee's performance was phenomenal, but that's not even necessarily the strongest out of the said film. I know that's not what they're looking at the time.
Sure.
They're looking at the individual performances.
So Angela Bassett, she in the Golden Globes. Kerry Condon from Banshees, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Dolly DeLeon, what was she in?
Triangle of Sadness.
Okay. And then great. Stupid.
All good. And then and then Casey Mulligan.
Kate Mulligan.
Carey Mulligan.
Kate Mulligan.
Kate
Mulligan got nominated. Kate Mulligan was nominated.
She also doesn't play this round out.
You're right. Carey Mulligan for She Said. What do you think, Winston?
So to that point, I haven't seen any of those except for Everything Everywhere.
You got to let me know what you think of Banshees when you see it.
I will. I definitely will. I think the difference here is we were talking about Angela Bassett's performance, and damn, she's probably going to get a nomination, if not potentially win. Like, the minute it happened. I don't think we were necessarily saying that about the other 4 women that are kind of circling the drain.
Yeah, but we also talk about it like in a different way.
I get it, but like you remember when Wolf of Wall Street came out, that has nothing to do with comic book stuff, and we were instantly like, yeah, Leo's definitely going to win this, and we were kind of shocked that he didn't, that he ended up losing to McConaughey in
Dallas Buyers.
Yeah. So like, you know what I mean? I think there are some times that you look at something and you instantly go, this is going to be a thing. Like when Get Out came out.
So you say she's going to win?
I think she will.
Okay.
Unless there's another performance that the Golden Globes maybe missed one or something like that. That was a snub.
Someone got a snub. Yeah, I'm sure. But
absolutely no disrespect to anyone else nominated, but for me, Everything Everywhere is a movie of incredible cinema, and Michelle Yeoh, is it? You say Yeoh? So Michelle Yeoh is I think going to get some love this year for best leading actor.
She might win. For
I could
leading
see
actress.
best leading actress. Yeah. So, but I do think that's a movie that's a spectacle, and I love those supporting roles, but I see it going to her. And then the other nominees, I definitely love their performances, but the 2 that stand out as performances for me are Kerry Condon and Angela Bassett, and I don't know if they're going to give it to Kerry Condon in a movie where I could definitely see the other Banshees boys getting stuff, but I feel like there's been more conversation around them than her. But as far as performances, like I walked out of that movie thinking of performances in Banshees and performances in Black Panther. I don't feel that way about the other films. I thought of them as movies.
I'll make it easy for you. It's a lock.
Yeah?
She wins it. It's a lock.
I think this is. I highly doubt Angela Bassett is going to go slap someone on stage, but it feels very similar to Will Smith last year when King Richard came out. It's not that the other performances weren't like stellar. There was something very different about it, and you're talking about the legacy, and a lot of the Oscar voting feels sometimes like legacy.
Leo
wins.
had to fight a bear.
Yeah, it was. But I think more so. I wouldn't have told you it was a lock 2 months ago.
Okay.
When it came out, I would have said that she should, and it would be a crime if she didn't get nominated. But in my head, I'm going, I don't know if she's going to win because I don't know if I can see them voting for comic book movies. But now,
But Black Panther feels like it's outside.
I know.
of that.
But now that the Golden Globes and now that she's getting, but now that she's being nominated for everything too, and I think that the points are. I mean, like all those other performances were really good. But they also didn't have to, and I think, and look, so I will be straight up with so I voted in the Critics' Choice Awards. I voted for her for Critics' Choice because in my voting, I said none of these other performances, and I had seen all of them, and none of these other performances to me had to carry the weight and had to use that grief and be able to, and I'm not saying, I don't know where there's also, as an actor, you guys know, you can pull grief from personal experiences in anything that you're in to make your performance elevated. But after it being so public, what happened with Chadwick, and being able to use that for a motive for the character as well. It's not the only reason I voted for it, because it was like, because that's not what it was, the performance. It was that it motivated and it made the performance better. So
I guess the last two things on it. My first question is, the actress from Banshees, what's her name?
Carrie Condon.
Carrie Condon. So has she been nominated for stuff before?
So she's been a powerhouse in performances that are not mainstream American films. Okay. So she's in this great movie Intermission. She was in Heath Ledger's Ned Kelly. She's in a lot of things, but she's not really an American mainstay.
Okay.
So I don't think she's ever been like in this circle here.
That's fair, and that doesn't necessarily have to do it at all. But you know how a lot of, even though they're doing a lot of changes with the Academy, it is still a lot of like older voters. And one of the things that they say all the time is they're like, "Oh, you're young, you'll come back. Like it's your first time, welcome." Kind of.
94 was 29 years ago.
And so when you pair that, when you pair the fact that if she's maybe the only other real strong contender, I could see Jamie Lee being a strong contender because she also has said legacy as well.
There's also the campaigning, which I think Jamie Lee Curtis is doing incredibly.
Yes,
like the politics of it, Jamie Lee and Angela Bassett, I would say, are the two. Performances, I would say those are the three. I love Carey Mulligan as well. But
we'll scoot to the next one though too. But I think Angela Bassett wins, and I think we're all on the same page. All right, Coy, you're on the clock here, buddy. So what do you got?
I think I saw here. I wanted to talk about it a few weeks ago when there was rumors, but I got to talk about this Tatum thing.
Which Tatum?
I love that. Like, there's an article in 2023 about Channing Tatum as Gambit. So I got to give this some love. I think this is one of two things. I think this is Channing Tatum being on a Magic Mike press tour that's about to warm up, and everyone knows that if you talk about a comic movie, you'll get headlines. Or two, this is Channing Tatum is in Deadpool 3, and he's reminding people he was ever cast.
Yeah. So remember, it wasn't just it wasn't just cast. It was like they
were making the movie. They were 2 weeks out from filming 5 times.
I remember when it was so long ago, but I remember the amount of money they were going to spend on this movie was Schnepp losing his mind.
Yeah.
So mad at how much money. I think it was like $200 million they were going to spend on like
Fox money
on a freaking Gambit movie. And then smartly, they were like, no, let's not do that. So this is from Dark Horizons. For many years, Channing Tatum pursued a dream to star as the X-Men character Gambit. He came close very times after initially being cast in The Last Stand until his character was written out. He was then cast in X-Men Origins Wolverine until a scheduling conflict led to Taylor Kitsch taking on the role, and then came a solo Gambit film, which was to be done in the mid-2010s with Tatum? Sure. With Tatum doing various early press for it. However, that production was canceled before filming. He was out promoting Magic Mike's Last Dance, and this is what he said about the project. Well, it got swallowed up into Disney by way of Marvel when they bought Fox, and ultimately I just think that the tone of the movie we wanted to make was very far from what they wanted to do, or maybe they're waiting to see how they do it with us or without us. We'll call every once in a while, but we've got to spiritually, emotionally, kind of mentally let it go. That sounds like Tatum has come to terms with the solo film being scrapped, but it doesn't necessarily rule him out of being of ever playing the role should Marvel want to do a John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic style short appearance in it for one of its upcoming projects like Deadpool 3 or the rumored to be multiverse spanning Avengers Secret Wars. I think, let's start with this. Well, Corey, you're the one that brought up the story. So what do you think?
I mean, honestly, I think he could be saying that as authentically as it sounds, because I know how much he loves the character and I know how much he worked. It was like 3 years of pre-production. He learned the accent. He's invested. The guy loves Gambit. I personally never saw him as Gambit because I see Gambit as like a different style of person, but I'd love to see Channing Tatum flex those acting muscles. I think he's hilarious. I'd love to see that grit from him. But I think it's really interesting timing with Deadpool. Like we've heard rumors that Deadpool is going to be multiverse hopping. We know that Ryan Reynolds and Channing Tatum are friends. I think it'd be this is an interesting way to get people to be like, oh right, he was cast, because the 2010s were a long time ago. I think it'd be more relevant to have a cameo that feels like there's a Krasinski thing if it's fresher in our minds.
Channing Tatum is also the king of cameos.
He really is.
He pulls up. He shows up. What was the one that he did where he was like the gimp when he was?
This is the
Dude,
end.
and this is the end.
That was my favorite part of that.
Also,
hilarious.
Bullet Train, which Ryan Reynolds also cameoed in, because they're friends, and Lost City, which was last year as well.
Yeah. So
cameo guy.
I think he does show up in a cameo, but I would, if it was for me, if I was making the choice, I would prefer to see him in Secret Wars. Because Deadpool to me just seems predictable. It seems like, okay, well, because of everything you just said, he's friends. He's been flexing his comedy muscles now for like the last 10 years, and to show up in something like that would be funny. But to have him show up in Secret Wars, because I want Secret Wars in general. I want that movie, like if they're gonna go as bonkers as we kind of hope.
Yeah.
Because we hope to see more of that stuff in Doctor Strange. Didn't happen. Hope to see it in a few other movies. It didn't really happen, right? So to be able to pull that off in Secret Wars, because it's with everybody coming back, and to have him show up in a brief stint as Gambit, that would be fun. But otherwise, I think the chances are not going to happen.
Nothing would make me happier than if they allude to him being Gambit in Deadpool 3, and it's like, oh, we found this thief or whatever, and then they start playing Pony because of Magic Mike, and they're like panning up on Gambit, and then they like just cut away. You never see his face.
The Henry Cavill and the Superman, the Shazam,
even the bottom of his chin,
just like here, and he's never actually. He doesn't say any words. He just it cuts right before
they do Pony, and they pan up, and you're assuming and then it's Taylor Kish.
Oh my God,
that'd be hilarious.
But
yeah, so something like that in Deadpool, they do it, and it's like a gimmick, and it gets a good laugh. Sure, but I also I think that they're absolutely right. That those are the two leading candidates, but there's also a major possibility nothing happens whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I really like Channing Tatum. I think he's actually a very, very good actor, and I think that he does have a certain suave. But I agree, I don't think it matches.
It's a different flavor of suave.
Different flavor of suave to the point where I would actually look to Tom Ellis from Lucifer.
I've always seen him a little dirtier, more of a Norman Reedus. Like Norman Reedus, how he's really charming, but in a very different way.
Well, but I guess that's why I went with Tom Ellis in the sense that because Lucifer again playing the devil, that same kind of suave. That's Gambit. If he can do a Cajun accent, I could see it too. You just dirty him up, but that energy. Channing doesn't give me that.
He's just so
energy.
handsome. Channing Tatum's that's a handsome guy.
So is Tom Ellis, but
in a way that's he literally played G.I. Joe. I don't picture G.I. Joe and Gambit as similar types.
You see, do you see? You kind of see what I'm talking about, Kristian? Because I see you're looking
at
it.
That Superman
I don't
flavor.
know well enough for Gambit to be able to talk on it. I just remember I thought Taylor Kitsch was fine. I
really like him.
Again, I don't know enough about Gambit to really compare.
I don't see Gambit as a traditionally handsome. I see him as a little left of center because he's got that thief thing.
I'd like to see Reedus do more. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
but
man.
Reedus,
Ghost Rider. If he's not,
we were talking about him for Ghost Rider.
I mean, it sounded like it was close, but I don't know how many they want to do and how far into that.
I liked Reedus a lot, man. Reedus is
he seems like a great dude.
So we had him on the Schmoes Know show in 2013 because my buddy Naveed, who I'm gonna have on the show again pretty soon, Naveed was like, yeah, I can get Norman Reedus on the phone. It's right at the height of Walking Dead. So yeah, sure. And he called in and we talked to him for a half an hour. But then when I was I was covering for Fandango, and he remembered that he called in my show, and he's like, well, yeah, have that guy come. So we went to his hotel room and just sat with him and talked to him for half an hour for Fandango. Awesome guy. He did
a really good interview with John Bernthal recently on Bernthal's Real Ones,
yeah.
and it's so interesting because he's just so he's so captivating, but he's so intense, and I love when people are very lean in and out simultaneously. He was at Hall H for the Keanu thing. Him and Keanu were friends, so I got to meet him. We're best friends. He flew me to South Africa.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it was great.
It's my buddy now.
I was trying to think. Can you think of somebody else that has the same kind of douchebaggery suave of Ryan Reynolds? Maybe like a Rob McElhenney.
Oh, dude, Rob McElhenney as Gambit would be awesome.
If he could get,
he's a little too traditionally handsome,
but again, you can do that with makeup and how you're dressed.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, need that douchebag suave energy, and that's the thing. Gambit is definitely that dude that
knows how great he is.
He is the worst.
Okay, see, I don't know enough about him, but either way, it doesn't look like Channing Tatum is going to have the full role, and we'll find out when he's going to show up or if at all. All right, now, so Winston, now before we even do that, before we go to the next story, I do want to tell you guys that we are excited once again to be working with MANSCAPED. You guys know how much I love MANSCAPED, and it's one of the reasons that I've been growing this thing out of my face is because of MANSCAPED. MANSCAPED's great, and what's even better is that they sell beard products now. That's right. They're revolutionizing men's grooming products once again with the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It's so awesome. Whether it's from a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. You can finally use MANSCAPED products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com. But you have to use that code, man. Big thing. And you get 20% off and free shipping. Tame your mane. No one likes a weird beard. So say goodbye to all your stubble trouble with MANSCAPED. It's the best. You got to get that Beard Hedger. It's a juggernaut of fixing faces. It's got the cordless trimmer, has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 positions of precision with one guard. It's really, I love this thing. I love it. I love MANSCAPED. You guys know that I love MANSCAPED. Since the SEN days, man, we're so excited to have them back. They have beard oil, they get beard balm, and it comes with 3 free gifts, and a beard brush, a comb, scissors to ensure that your beard is ready to impress. And MANSCAPED in general, man. Head on over there. If you haven't tried MANSCAPED and you've been listening to this show long enough, what the hell's wrong with you? You get 20% off and free shipping. Enter that code BIGTHING at manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, but you got to use that code BIGTHING. MANSCAPED Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. I absolutely love MANSCAPED. You know that I do. And people have been asking me many times over, and I tell you this all the time. How do you support the show? Well, you could throw a like on there. You can throw a comment on there. That's always, always appreciated. You can join Patreon. You can get a Black Knight shirt, all that stuff. But what I always say is if you support the show and you help yourself, go to Manscaped, you get one of those sponsors. That's how we keep this show going. That's how you see we get more sponsors because you guys. If you've never bought a sponsor before, you never tried a sponsor before, try Manscaped and let me know.
Anecdote. Yes. I got the Manscaped 2.0 of the trimmer back in the Collider days.
Oh, wow.
It lasted up until this year, or 2022.
Awesome.
So all those years, I got the 4.0 at like November.
It's the best.
Revolution.
It's the best.
Changed the game.
It really is.
What an evolution.
I love it.
Of ball technology.
Still love him a 3, man.
Yeah.
Still love him a 3. I'm ready. I'm ready. I mean, if the beard trimmer's that good, man.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah. Because that's the whole thing. I kind of have the bottom part doesn't always do so I got to trim this up and whatnot. So if it's
good. You should use that code, man. You get 20% off. Big thing. Yeah. All right, Winston, you're up. Here's the next. We got a couple things up that we can talk about. Let's. What do we got?
Before we jump into it, can I ask a quick question?
No.
I'm gonna do it.
You just did. You just asked the question.
Another one.
Fine.
So we got because I noticed you didn't put it up there. So we got a China release date for Antman and for Black Panther. So why don't we go ahead and do the Shazam one because it kind of ties all together.
That'll tie it in there. All right, so let's do that. So why don't you tell us some of this stuff as we get there?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've had a situation because of the pandemic that there have really not been a lot of releases for some of these mega blockbuster movies. I believe the last.
Well, Avatar did it because Winston, it's almost at $2 billion. Go ahead.
No, no, but that's
number 6 of all time, is it?
But if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the first major ones to actually do it. Because before that, as far as Marvel movies, I remember seeing a report that it was Endgame and Far From Home were the last 2 movies in China. They've done none of Phase 4. Wow. And so you wonder why the box offices for these have done well, but they haven't blown out of the water. Has probably had a lot to do with that. And I honestly think that because of this, I don't know about Antman and Quantumania yet because, I guess we got to see how it does. I'm sure it'll do very well, but as far as breaking $1 billion, I think this will actually give the final boost to have Wakanda Forever break $1 billion.
I don't. And only because of 2 things. One, and we talked about this the other day when I was on Campy's show, is that it's going to help it. $1 billion is tough. $1 billion because it's already at 800. right now?
It's at 847.
Right. So it would have to make $150 million or whatever it is, and that's a lot in China. So I think it'll get close. I don't think it'll hit $1 billion. I hope that I'm wrong, but I just think that because it's a later release now and everything too. But I think it might be tough. And it's also, even when I think the last movie for Black Panther, the first one, I think did 100 million, just about 100 million
It's
in China.
110.
In right. So I mean, and that's so it's going to be. I think it'll be tough to do, but either way, it does add box office. It's just how much box office is
the only reason why I'm leaning into it might actually hit that 150 it needs, and because you'll still have a few playing here while it's happening. I think what will do it is the fact that there has not been a single Marvel movie since Far From Home. Like not even No Way Home, Far From Home. You're talking about.
I know. So it's possible.
So I think just the thirst of like, oh, it's back, might do it. Now I get it. There's lots of conversations about, if black actors and whatnot actually do very well in China. Like you see some of the marketing.
But again, the first one did 110 million.
It did. I get that, but you look at some of the other Marvel movies that were in China, they did a lot more.
Right.
And there is conversations about, like, when you looked at Star Wars, how they were cutting John Boyega out of posters and stuff like that. So there is some conversation there. But I think just from the standpoint of this is the first Marvel movie they're getting back, that it might do gangbusters.
Well, there's no question that it's going to help for sure. And still how it's, and this is a big thing for them for it to happen. And it's also the reason why is that they have like a set amount of movies they let into the market every year, and so they're starting to let a couple more in. I think that they realize also that this is going to help their economy out as well. So they're letting these movies come in now, or approving more of the ones that are coming in, and one of those is Shazam. So we talked about how the Marvel movies are getting released, so you're getting a DC release as well. So in recent years, and again, some comic book movie, in recent years, China has significantly reduced the number of Hollywood movies released there. However, between strict COVID protocols and lack of titles that appeal to wider audiences, theaters in the Middle Kingdom are nearing bankruptcy, with the entire industry potentially on the brink of collapse. That would explain the recent decision to allow both Black Panther Wakanda Forever and Antman and the Wasp Quantumania to be released there, and it seems Shazam Fury of the Gods is next. An outlet affiliated with the Chinese government has confirmed the news, though we don't currently have a release date. Still, this bodes well for the Shazam sequel, especially with so much uncertainty surrounding the likelihood of actors and characters from the DCEU making the leap to DC Studios in the new DCU. It was easy to bid Black Adam star Dwayne Johnson farewell after that movie flop, but if Shazam Fury of the Gods is a mega hit, then Zach Levi might get the chance to stick around as the big red cheese. Those box office numbers will be worth keeping an eye on, that's for sure. All right, there's a lot with that. I don't know what to say when it comes to that last part with if it does well, because is that true? I don't know if that's true, because the same thing with like the Flash. Is that true? Are they gonna,
I feel like Shazam's removed enough, it might be okay. I mean, Flash showed up in Justice League. Shazam had a half Superman. I don't know
I'm just sticking with what Winston said, though. It's like, if you're gonna reboot
you should totally
reboot the whole thing.
It should be a fresh slate.
It's just, I understand that the problem that they're in, right? It's like, well, wait a minute. If this makes money now, we can get the movie in China, and we're going to make some more money. That movie just made a lot more. It made a lot more than the first one. Why are we going to get rid of Everyone loves Zach Levi. Why are we getting rid of Zach? And Zazov's like, oh, maybe we should rethink this thing. It's like, well, we just had this whole thing. He's like, that Flash kid, maybe we can, he's getting help. They're getting help. They're getting help. So what are we going to do?
I like Zach Levi a lot, and I thought he did a great job. But if there was ever a reason to potentially do it, is that, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, there's very rarely or ever do we see an adult Billy Batson. It's always like kid or maybe teenager Billy Batson, and then he transforms into Shazam.
And Asher's old.
He's getting old, because when they shot that, he was what, like 19, 20 for the first one?
I think he was 17, 18. Okay. But I think he was touring at 19, 20, and that was 5 years ago.
Right. And so like he's
Asher's great, man. Like I like the kid and his acting, but there isn't a precedent for that character to have to shave. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, touring with it's going to be hard. And Jack Dylan Grazer, Manscaped's going to be ready. I mean, they got the beard trimmer now. Yeah. But Jack Dylan Grazer as well, like, that character is really iconic to why Shazam works. I don't know if Jack Dylan Grazer is necessarily going to want to do it into his late 20s.
Right.
I know. So it's interesting. And that's a whole, I feel like we have this conversation, as we should, every week, and we're going to probably really dive into it once they announce that slate. But the news that Winston brought up, though, was the idea, and we said it right beforehand, China's in trouble with financial and the theaters could collapse. So it's a smart decision for them to go, hey, whatever we were thinking before, and we gotta, I mean, look at what Avatar just did. And the other thing that we're not talking about is you can guarantee that the negotiation behind this also was the second Iger stepped in.
Oh yeah,
like Iger's just like, hey, let's talk. Let's have, you guys need it. We want our movies out there. Look at what Avatar just did. So let us get our stuff in.
You think Chopik went in there and he just pissed everybody off? He's like, you gonna take these movies? Like, we ain't taking like you.
I mean, the timing lines up.
I think there's just some people that are just bad in the room, bad on the call. There's somebody just like we know these. I don't know if he's a good guy or bad guy. I don't know. I don't know him, but I'm just saying there's certain people you're just like it's like teachers. You're like, I don't want to take Chapek's class.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. You know, it's like Iger. Oh, I got Professor Iger. You know what I mean? It's like that.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, I like that.
But it's true though, right? It's like that's how you feel. Like remember every time you went to, like it didn't matter. Like Professor Chapek could have been a great teacher.
Yeah.
And but you're sleeping within 5 minutes of his lesson.
Yeah.
And
Superintendent Zaslav isn't helping. So
we need talking about the first ice cream shop that ever opened up. You're like, oh, I learned about the ice cream shop today. And it's because some people got it and some people don't. And it's the reason why it's leadership. Yeah, and that's why, hey, one of the first things I'm going to do, I'm going to get on the phone with the peeps in at the China theaters. I'm going to get our movies back in. We're going to make some money. They're going to make some money. Boom. And then that's not including and Zaslav too, as much as I give him, he's one of those guys. You might not like him, but he's not a boring professor. He's like, oh, I don't know what the hell this guy's going to say in class today. You know, and he's that guy. So, but you're like, but he gets it done. He's been getting the job done so far. Now, we don't know if he can have the success level of Iger yet because he hasn't had the opportunity yet, but he's one of those guys that's like, hey, Iger did it. Get Shazam into China now. Now that we're seeing all these movies come out. Okay, look, Black Panther, did you see the news? Black Panther, we're going to get on the phone with them. We want Shazam in there now too. And they got Shazam in there. So, you know, it's all about leadership, man.
I really love how hopeful everything feels with movies and Phase 5 and everything going forward. Like, I know Wakanda Forever is going to get another boost, but I don't know, something feels different about Ant-Man Forward. Something feels different about like theaters opening back up.
Yes.
Like there's a sense of movies and scope again that I haven't felt in 2 years now.
No, I totally get that. I think the other part of it is this obviously with Phase 4 being over, we're kind of at the end of Act 1. And this with Ant-Man now we're actually having what feels like the true inciting incident to like set off this multiversal story.
Yeah, we've met the characters and now it's time for the catalyst, and then that's going to be insane for 2 years, and that's high energy, that's action. I do think people are going to look back at Phase 4 more positively after Phase 5 with context.
I think so.
Because I think we're going to understand like the reasoning behind a lot of the things that don't connect yet.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go one more here and then we'll get to the boom. The boom. Let's do it. So I want to talk about. Well, there's a couple things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Kang. There's some other news that's just come out recently about. I mean, this character is just going to be so impactful, and Jonathan Majors is just everywhere you look.
The fact that we get him so early too, because like Thanos, we got just like the smile, we get the I'll do it myself, but we really didn't get him until Infinity War and Endgame. But we're getting him at the start of Phase 5.
Right? Yeah, it's big. It's big. So, all right. So this is again everything. Most of the stories we get is from Comic Book Movie. New Antman and the Wasp Quantumania stills offer a look at Jonathan Majors' Kang the Conqueror without his trademark costume, while we also see Hank Pym taking aim behind the scenes, photos, and more. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania will kick off Phase 5 and is a movie that promises to turn the MCU on its head as we head deeper into the multiverse saga. Kang the Conqueror will take center stage in the threequel, but we also will see a different side of the MCU's latest big bad in these new released stills. No longer in his comic accurate costume, the time-traveling villain stares longingly at a device. It's thought that this will be his key to escaping the quantum realm. There's also a great shot of the Wasp next to a honeycomb-like substance, funnily enough, while Hank Pym wields a weapon not at all that different to Star-Lord's element guns. We also have a couple of behind-the-scenes photos showcasing Scott Lang and a suited-up Cassie. While many fans have complained that Marvel Studios has shown a little too much in the trailers, the new look at Kang suggests that there's an awful lot we haven't seen. Hopefully, the Conqueror will be given that chance. So there's a lot about this movie as we see more and more and more with it. I think we've all been saying this. Freaking Ant-Man's gonna die like 50 times in this movie.
He's over and over.
He's gonna die a bunch of times. But who, if anybody, is gone? I think if I was to guess, Vegas odds to me, Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer are dead.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
At least Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
If not both of them, at least Michael Douglas. I think there is, other than the fact that he's getting a little bit older, they didn't go with any of the traditional Hank Pym stories. They kind of lightly touched on them because they really decided to focus on Scott Lang, which is fine. I think that's a missed opportunity. Hank Pym is one of the most interesting characters in Marvel because he's got a lot of problems.
Yeah.
He talk about a tortured genius.
Yeah.
He has a lot of problems. Including the fact that he's actually the one that traditionally becomes Yellow Jacket first. Like he comes through and is just like, I'm tired of y'all, and like just tries to be a hero, kind of goes anti-hero, goes villain for a while. So that being said, I think you've made it very clear that Paul Rudd is the face of this. So I think if you're going to let anybody go, you let go of Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
I could also see Paul Rudd going too, though, because we've had.
I hope not. I really hope not. I'm getting tired of the cliche of them having to kill off all the main characters. I know we've been there for a while with them, but it's like, granted, Thor's still around, but he's just kind of a shell of what he used to be. Tom Holland, who knows the next time we're going to see him. Tony Stark's gone.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers is gone. It's like Black Widow's gone. So it's like we don't need to get rid of him yet.
I mean, I'm just thinking we have a lot of new kids. We don't have a lot of kids that we know their parent, not them. So it'd be a different thing for Cassie. Like it'd be a different opportunity for Stature, because we've got Thor with his daughter as a certain parental guidance. We had Renner with his surrogate daughter in a way where that mentorship. We haven't really had someone like mourning the loss of their parent,
right?
From that perspective.
And unfortunately, I think the predictable kind of thing that they're doing now with Marvel. This is what I hope. This is the same thing like that I said with when Kylo Ren, when it was like he's going to turn good. This is what would be predictable, and I'm gonna kind of go, okay, it's just been done already a million times, and this is what I think they're gonna do. This is what I hope they don't do, that you could see them doing. So far, they're really setting up, as you mentioned with Hawkeye, as you mentioned, also with Ms. Marvel. There's all the younger, Florence Pugh as well. All the younger characters are now coming into play, where there's Young Avengers and all this stuff too. It would be pretty predictable and probably probable if Scott Lang does die and they give it to Cassie, and Cassie's the new Ant Woman, and then she takes the mantle. Like that, it just like we've just done it, and we've just done it so many times already.
You know what? I actually bet. Now that I think about it, you make a solid point, and I know she becomes Stature at one point. I actually think they might kill off Evangeline Lilly. And you get rid of Hope, and then Cassie steps in as like essentially Wasp.
I think we're in an age, and I'm never this guy. I think politically, there's no chance they do that. I think politics wise, they would never do it.
How come? What do you mean?
They're not going to kill off one of their lead female heroes. They're just not going to do it.
No.
I think it would make sense, but I just don't. I think they're right now.
But you killed off Black Widow, like so. It's not
different. But that was, and it was a different time.
And I get that, and even though technically she's in the title. It's the hero, the Wasp, that's in the title, and Evangeline's character Hope has always kind of been. She's been a supporting character. She's never really stepped into that leading role, and I don't necessarily see it. I mean, maybe, but I could see this whole thing where like maybe this whole because I've only watched the trailers once. Does he specifically say I can give you more time with your daughter? Or does he say I give you more time with her?
Oh, interesting.
Because I since I've only watched them once, I'm just trying to think of it, and if that's the case, I would not be surprised if maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah, but I think that would I hope that's not what's going on, because that would take away so much. Because I understood inside of that trailer, he was incarcerated.
Yeah.
Even when he was on house arrest for 2 years, he lost with the blip. He
yeah,
lost
5 years. I assumed it was about the blip.
Yeah, it's all of that.
Sure, but
it's all of that.
Yeah.
He lost his stuff when his daughter in the first. Well, he was jailed up for what, 2-3 years?
Yeah. So he's only been there half her life at best.
At best.
Yeah.
Not even that. And so that to me makes the most sense. I just I don't know. We'll see. I think that I think it's more likely that Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer do. But if it ultimately turns out that Scott Lang is killed off and they're going in this direction, but Scott Lang could also show back up in Secret Wars. I mean, that's what is going to be so different about all this because it's rumored. We didn't even talk about this. Like Tony Stark is rumored to come back.
Yeah, that's the thing. It wouldn't make sense not to potentially bring back everybody. Even Chris Evans is Steve Rogers. I think it's one of those things where it gives you an avenue where you can put all these characters to bed, but nothing is off the table. And I would never truly want them to fully come back and do everything again. But I would love the idea of like when we get to Secret Wars, they get to come back and be a major part of it. And then we, as just like a really combining the last two major sagas, whatever. And then I don't think Marvel will ever die, but if you want to start wrapping things down a little bit after the multiversal saga is over,
it's a money machine.
It is, but we're also talking about a lot of movies and a lot of time, and I'm very curious if they can continue to truly evolve when we're done with this saga.
Yeah, I mean, look, but evolution as opposed to profitable businesses are two different things also, right? So like even if there's some stuff that we also don't feel like they're not moving the needle, but they're still making close to $1 billion, they're going to
without China. Now they have China, I think we're going to start clearing $1 billion again.
I think so too. I mean, look, let's see what happens with both. Do we? And I don't know if I think we talked about this. No, maybe it was a different. I don't remember if it was on Big Thing or if it was with you guys. But we'll do it again in case we didn't. The three movies: Eternals, the Marvels, the
Guardians and Antman.
And Antman. Box office wise, totals 1, 2, and 3. What do you got? I'll go first. What you guys think? So that way, I'm going Guardians at number 1, Ant-Man at number 2, the Marvels tapping out at 3.
That was mine.
Yeah.
I'm going Guardians, Marvel's Ant-Man, and I think Ant-Man and Marvel's going to be close because release dates, because of how well the first Captain Marvel did. Even though it's not one of my favorites of the Marvel pantheon, it did exceedingly well. It made a 1.3 billion.
Don't forget why though. Also, not just because.
It was the one after. It was right after Infinity War.
It was right before. It was
between Infinity War and Endgame, wasn't
it? It was Marvel's, or it was Quantumania, or Ant-Man and the Wasp was first, and then Captain Marvel,
and then it was right before Endgame,
and then
it was
Endgame.
very close timing.
It was right there.
But it does also follow a show and follow the sequel, and Ant-Man was.
Fact.
So it could. I think the closest two are going to be Ant-Man and Marvel's, but I think Guardians has it.
I think that this Ant-Man's got a lot of hype behind it, man.
Kang's huge.
It does, and you're really getting a full introduction to Kang now, because that really felt like a prequel with
He Who Remains.
But
Ant-Man movies never. I think you're gonna have to convince the everyday audience that Ant-Man. Peyton Reed has said they always give him the palate cleansers, and he wants this to be its own thing. I think you're gonna have to convince the audience with word of mouth that this is the case. I think we know Kang. It's a lot like our Ezra Miller conversation.
Yes, right.
How much is impacting the day-to-day civilian that isn't in the industry?
Well, look, I'll bring up like the show The Bear. Right, so it's a great show. I did, but the thing is, like, you would assume, because a lot of people talk about that. I can't tell you how many people, my friends that from back home that I brought up, had no clue what that was. It's just he just won a whole bunch of awards. Yeah. Still, nobody's watching those awards.
We're very insular.
Very much so. And it's the same thing where like Ant-Man, and it's a reason why we had this whole discussion around like the Mandalorian trailer that just dropped, and the reason why and even the Ant-Man trailer that they show during football games.
Yeah.
And the big question is, why do you show it during a football game, right? It's not just to get us or people who are watching, like, to go watch it because the trailer's dropping.
Yeah.
It's to get the people who are watching football to go, oh, that's coming out.
Because Guardians summer movie, Captain Marvel sequel to one of the biggest Marvel releases, Ant-Man, a third Ant-Man movie.
Listen, traditionally, like, especially when like Mark Ellis and I were doing Schmoes Know and all that stuff, I would have been on your page 100%, because summer movies is when kids are out of school. It's one of there's just something about Ant-Man that I feel is going, because it's also the first big release since Avatar. Mm-hmm. So, and it's the only thing that's going to kick Avatar off of its
100%.
It's perch at the moment. So
it's also, I mean, we've been hungry for Marvel content for longer than usual because of how much stuff was coming out in 2022.
And this might be the longest. And the stuff wasn't even that great.
And this might be the longest gap. Panther, you know what I mean? Like, I think this is probably the longest gap in Marvel stuff since they went every month.
That's true. I know what you're saying. Yeah, right, because you don't have a show or anything.
Think about how we were talking about January. We're like, well, there's nothing to talk about. Like, it's about to be. So there might be that hunger for Ant-Man.
Yeah. So it's right around the corner. Anyway, so before we get to, I was going to close out one more story. Let's talk. It's Boom time. So Boom Studios, they've been sponsoring the show, and I'm so glad they have. As I was telling you guys, and we've talked about it many times over, that Boom it's just a brand new type of, I don't know, there's just something that they do that is so special with the different kind of genres and the amazing comics that we've had an opportunity to read, to learn about. There's a lot of new stuff, but there's also stuff that they have that is in pre-existing IP that you know, but the stories that they tell, and there's no difference this week, man. Yeah, baby, Dune. I love Dune. And yes, it is on my most anticipated list, the second one. Forgot on the damn thing. But the actual comic itself, fans know that this is a huge year for Dune, man. It's big. The sequel comes out, and Boom Studios is kicking things off with a brand new Dune comic book series. We talked about it briefly, I think, that it was coming out. But look, listen to this. It's Dune House Harkonnen, and it's the first one. It's out this week, and it's at your local comic shop, and it begins an epic 12-issue series set before the events of the original movie. The series is going to take fans on a journey exploring the origins of iconic characters like Gurney Halleck and Lady Jessica, and new insight into House Harkonnen's schemes came together. It was written and adapted by award-winning novelist Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, with art from Michael Shelfer, and it's available now. I mean, just look at some of this stuff, man. Look at this. It's like I love this type of art. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And then that one's great. Although this is my favorite one here. I love this. I love this guy. It's just like it sums up everything. Look at him. It looks like he could be a Game of Thrones character too. It's really gorgeous art.
Robert Baratheon, for real.
Right? And once again, so it's coming out. If you guys are big Dune fans, I know a lot of people are breaking my chops about, hey, why isn't your on your most anticipated list? And it's so simply because this idiot here forgot it. This should be on your list. If you're looking forward to Dune, you should be running out to the comic book store, even if you're not. I don't really read comic books anymore. Head on out there, and this should be the one that you start with.
That's what I was going to say, is this is what a great gateway, right? Yeah. Like, I love when comic books are accessible, and if you're already a sci-fi fan, then you might be reading novels. If you're already a Dune fan, you might have seen the movies. What a great way to see if you like the medium of comic books. And then if you like this, Boom has so many other things that you dig in the sci-fi arena, and if you also like the horror-ish underbelly, there's a lot of good horror stuff. So I think this is a great way for you to get that vibe and see if you like the medium of comic books, and this one definitely... I love the seeds being planted. Like, you could feel certain things in this first issue that were like, oh, I know that reference. What are steps A, B, C, D to get to the E that I know?
Yeah, and it's easy to follow along.
Yeah.
And so, Winston, sci-fi has been something that we've been doing a lot with Boom. What'd you think?
I mean, I loved it, but when we talked about this before, I was confused because I still haven't seen Dune. So, like, I just...
Crazy.
So I guess here's my question. Should I finish this series and then go watch it, or should I go watch it and then try and
finish this first, because it leads into the event of the first movie? So it's like it's any of those big movies. I remember, like, back in the day when they did Batman '89, they had like kind of that lead up to it in the comic itself.
They did a cool sequel to that, by the way.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did this last year.
Yeah.
It was the if they had Billy D. Williams Two-Face story that was supposed to be told.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's Batman '89, a 5-issue series.
Is it actually Billy D.
after.
Williams?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a 5-issue. Yeah.
Can you bring it in?
Yeah.
I want to read that.
And same thing with Marlon Wayans as his Robin.
They continued.
As
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And they continued Superman too. So there's Batman and Superman from the
bring those
78.
in.
I got you.
Because I definitely want to read those. I mean, that's my thing. But anyway, so yeah, Boom's got this. Boom has this series out, and Dune is the way to. And that's what I love about Boom, though. That's like there's all these different like new stuff that we hadn't heard about, and then there's the Power Rangers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then there's Dune. So yeah, go and check it out, man.
I did my top. I love lists. I love end of the year lists. One of my favorite things about New Year's is breaking it down. I tried to do a top 20 comics of the year, and I couldn't. Yeah. I did a top 60. And Boom literally has 11 of my top 60, and they're a new publisher. That's incredible considering they put out to scale the quality they do, and they have so many less individual comics than like Marvel or DC. They're all great.
It was the first, because I wasn't as familiar, right? It was when they were coming on board, I'm going, I don't read comics as much anymore, so I'm really hoping that it's good, because I don't want to, because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to tell them after like month one if I don't like their stuff, and then we can't, as nice as it is, I just can't do it. I haven't had that problem, not once. And it's like, and what is really, as a movie fan, I'm going, or TV fan too, I'm like, I'm going, hey, this stuff should be. You're going to start to see a lot of this stuff.
Well, that's what's great is like something is
Dune's
killing
got a
the
TV
children.
show. Dune's
Yeah,
got a TV show. Yeah.
So Something is Killing the Children was 3 of my 11 because not only is it the main title, but there's also the House of Slaughter and the Book of Slaughter.
Right.
Because there's such a rich mythology they introduced that they can do spin-offs like a good show,
Yeah.
but they're as good as the original. So when I was looking at my list, I was like, this is 1 times 3 books, and it's not the characters we already know. So I get to have fresh IP. You get to get new eyeballs on it. Like I'm so impressed consistently.
I mean, they've been blown out of the water to the point where I think you're spot on, Kristian. I mean, obviously we know Berserker is coming.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if like a Vicious Circle ends up as like a show or a mini series when it's all said and done. Let alone the fact that they are currently they're doing a 30th anniversary special of Power Rangers right now.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
I wouldn't even be surprised if you have a situation where somehow the Ninja Turtles like Power Rangers crossover becomes like a thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So sick.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
going to plug one more book as I traditionally do.
Please.
There's a book called Human Target that Mike Kalinowski's obsessed with.
Yeah, he's telling me
Mikey
about it.
Christmas. It's an issue 10 this week out of 12, and it is probably my favorite. Insert yourself into the world of DC characters you know through a character you don't, because you've got this eye line that's a guy you wouldn't normally know. So the character Human Target is a guy who takes punishment as a disguise to take things off of other people. So he's literally a human target. So in this case, he dressed as Lex Luthor, accidentally got poisoned, and now he's only got 10 days to live because the poison's killing him from the inside.
Right.
So the comic takes place over the course of 10 days as he's slowly dying, trying to solve his own murder. And it's a really fun detective story of him dying. But the art by Greg Smallwood is some of the prettiest I've ever seen. The writing by Tom King is such a great like noir mystery. And then you've got like one of my favorite issues was issue 9 was last month, and you've literally got the terror of this guy running from Batman. He's like, he's right behind me. This is what he'd do. This is what he'd do. And he's doing all these things thinking how Batman would think. And you've got this terror of a character you don't see because you're just afraid of the Batman. So you actually get to see that thing that Batman wants in his books. You never get to see the other guy's perspective. And he's a hero. So I don't know. I just love a supporting character getting this kind of love and detail. Yeah. And it shows the strength of the medium because he can run into Green Lantern one week, Batman one week, have all these supporting characters, and it never feels contrived. It just feels like an expansive world. And that's what I want my comics to feel like.
Well, that's awesome. So check
Human Target.
Check out Human Target, and also check out Dune, and check it out in the store. So once again, thank you to Boom, and thank you to Koi for the suggestion. All right, before we wrap up, there's just 2 more things I want to talk about. So James Gunn is hinting that certain Guardians of the Galaxy actors probably will be switching over to his DC universe. James Gunn is hard at work relaunching DC Studios as its new CEO. Many are wondering what the future holds for the Guardians actors. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will not only be the conclusion of the trilogy, but Gunn's tenure at Marvel. With that, some are expecting some of the actors in his franchise will also be parting ways with Marvel. Now, we shouldn't expect all the characters to depart at the end of it, but it does seem like the roster will be much different by the time we see them in another project. When asked what the future holds, Gunn hinted to Empire Magazine that Chris Pratt and potentially others could jump ship to DC. The cast are like my family. I cannot tell you how close I am to Pratt and to Palm and to Dave Bautista and Zoe Saldana and Karen, but I also know I will. I will work again with all those people again, probably at my other job. Right. This shouldn't be too much, and he didn't actually tweet at it, so joke's on me. This is an interview. This shouldn't be much of a shock for a fan of Gunn's work, with actors Michael Rooker, Sean Gunn already jumping to DC. So yeah, Dave Bautista has always mentioned wanting to portray DC's Bane in a film. Only time will tell. So this is about as no-duh as it gets, because of a lot of different reasons. The first is that James Gunn seems to be from. So I worked with a guy named Elon Gale, who was a big reality producer. Now he created F-Boy Island and
dude, that show.
Yeah, and so
oh my god.
So, but he was a big producer on The Bachelor, right? So, and I worked with him for many years, and he's buddies with James Gunn, and he shows up in Guardians too. He's one of the Ravagers or in the back. I think he's with Stallone or something like that at the end, and he's just there. And I was like, and then Gunn takes care of his buddies, but he also. But he didn't do it in a way that it's like this kind of nepotistic thing where he's in the back, there's his friend, and he shows up. But it's little things like that. Then you look at what he's done and how he has built out, and Dave Bautista has said as much. He's built out Dave Bautista's confidence. He's built out Dave Bautista's career. Dave Bautista will 1,000% show up in a DC movie, there, or at least a Warner Brothers movie again, or something that James Gunn is involved in, right?
But I mean, what creative doesn't do that?
Of course.
They want to work. I mean, in life, you want to work with the people that you like and that you have chemistry with. But like Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan,
absolutely, Scorsese and Leo or De
Fincher
Niro.
and Pitt.
Yeah, there's tons of it. But
Spielberg and Hanks. Like,
and this is a collection of people that he's worked with that are all, and a lot. Zoe Saldana is in stuff every other Tuesday, right? She's in something
Avatar.
big in Avatar, but then she's in something small like Amsterdam, and I didn't like that movie, but that movie had great actors. It just Andrew Riseborough, who I just talked about, Christian Bale, Washington, like all the so many people in that particular movie. But what James Gunn does is he is also going to look at the star power, right? Mm-hmm. Chris Pratt, of course, he's going to get Chris Pratt. It's like you have to look at it now. We always say that it's not Yankees and Red Sox, right? But it is in a certain aspect where with the fans and everything.
There's certain corners of it that see it that way.
And Marvel and DC, of course it is. But if you're James Gunn and you're not allowed to work at Marvel anymore, you're going to get Chris Pratt. You're going to take Pratt. You're going to take Batista. You're going to take all these guys.
I know it's another essentially a kind of space futuristic character, but can you not see Chris Pratt as Booster Gold?
I was that is exactly where I would hope you would land. Even like an older one, like they cast younger, and they have a time traveling Booster Gold that's Chris Pratt would be genius.
I don't know enough about it, so whether or not
he's basically a reality TV show star that streams all of his superhero hijinks for money and brand deals.
Sounds just like Chris
Pratt. Right?
Like, in the future, he steals his tech so he can go be famous and rich
in the past. So it's like the selfish guy bringing tech back.
I think it's. I mean, you'd run the risk of the Star-Lord,
comparison, sure, but to that point, I look at some of the people that have kind of done the Marvel DC crossover, and a lot of their stuff is kind of the same. I mean, even what the actor that played like Yondu, his character, the spear, he was the javelin dude, wasn't he?
Michael Rooker and Rooker was both. Yeah,
he was both.
Yondu out here with the flying arrow.
So we're gonna. So Gunn's going to be taking. He's going to be taking a lot of these actors for sure. His brother's going to show up, and his brother's in all the Guardians movies.
But Will Pete Davidson.
Oh, that's right, Davidson. Well, he was already in it. But I think that it's 100% guarantee that a lot of them will show up for sure. The question then spins. Does Feige do one of these things? Because Feige's always going to say smartly on television or wherever he's interviewed, no, we always wish good luck for everybody too. There's a competition level for him as well too. And he's going to go, get Cavill on the phone now. Why wouldn't you? Get
Captain
Cavill.
Britain, man.
Yeah, get Doom. I want him as Doom. I want to see him.
I'd love him as Doom.
I would love to see him as Dr. Doom. And I couldn't believe it. I put a poll in a lot, and you had said the same thing, but we didn't talk to you about it because there was a rumor about Adam Driver about playing Reed, right? And I said I would prefer to see him as Reed, and then we put a poll out about what to the fans. What would you rather see him as, Reed Richards or Dr. Doom? And overwhelmingly Dr. Doom.
I think people just see the parallel.
No, excuse me. Overwhelmingly, Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom. And it's exactly right. They see the parallel.
They just see, he was Kylo Ren.
It's so tired. It's like we've seen him be a masked villain already.
Insular versus pop. Like we see it from the perspective of like, I think we personally want to see actors challenged. I think we want to see like things that we want to see. But I think if you ask the average moviegoer, they're going to go like, he's good at bad guys. 100%. And that's okay.
That's exactly what happened. And he would kill it as that role.
He would absolutely
kill it. But it's just boring.
But that's what we were talking about with Giancarlo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's the fact that he plays a villain exceptionally well, but that's why he wants to move into Professor X.
Exactly. And I'd love to see that happen as well too. So these are both tremendous actors that could do it and not just keep doing the same thing.
The only thing I would say, and I would not blame Adam Driver for maybe agreeing that he wants to play Dr. Doom. It's not that Reed Richards isn't important. It's not that Reed Richards isn't like a big deal. I would make the argument that Doom is a bigger deal.
He is, and I'm sure he's more layered in the overall. But it's just like the idea that this guy he's a really good actor that could play it. But anyway,
I think a lot of people just like to think like, I'd like to see more of the villain, or I'd like to see more of it's the linear.
But can you imagine Adam Driver's Reed Richards squaring off against Henry Cavill's Dr. Doom? I mean, come on.
Love that.
Come on.
I would also love to see if Reed Richards finally get the layers that I think he has in the comic books we've not really seen yet. And I think Adam Driver could do that.
That's why that's all kind of lays into it, where it's like Marvel should be making that phone call to get Henry Cavill involved one way or another.
There was somebody sent me something about having John David Washington be Reed Richards, and I was like, absolutely not. But what I would love to see him do is I would love to see him be the Blue Marvel.
Oh, he'd be incredible.
Do you think? And they talked about, like, is Denzel too old to play him?
Blue Marvel, I think
Marvel's got white in the sides a little bit.
Does, but I think Denzel, while this is all due respect, because that man is one of the greatest actors of all time.
To Denzel?
It's not even
He watches.
that. It's just the fact that even though there's got the gray, Blue Marvel, just based off of, he's not like old. And I'm not saying that Denzel looks old, but he definitely looks older. You know what I mean?
You know who I want to see? Either John David Washington or Sterling K. Brown play? Mr. Terrific. He would crush.
Okay, Sterling K. Brown would crush
Right?
Mr. Terrific.
Mr. Terrific is Sterling K. Brown.
Yeah.
But when you say John David Washington, I see them as similar types, and I could see that
And
landing.
Mr. Terrific is DC?
Yeah,
DC,
and
yeah,
he's
yeah.
so like both. I think Sterling K. Brown and John David Washington are these hyper articulate, oozing intelligence, very strong, capable dudes. And Mr. Terrific is basically like he can outsmart Batman, and he's also like
So look,
yoked.
there's a lot of news coming down the pike for sure. So, and I think, and the other thing to discuss, not now because we don't know what it is. If we get our way and there is like this full on reboot, then the question is going to start to come: who's playing the Flash? Who's playing Wonder Woman? Who's playing all these? So there's a lot that's going to be coming down with some more of these announcements pretty soon. Last but not least, a little bit of a longer show, I know, but I would be upset at myself I didn't mention that Jeremy Renner is recovering, which is a really good thing. However, it's going to be a long recovery, and the injuries that he sustained they're really serious. But I think he tweeted the other day that he's back home and that he's able to actually get himself out of the hospital, and it's great. He's been providing these updates on his recovery following his serious snowplow incident. New details from sources close to the actor have described his condition now as much worse. Okay, that's not good. Jeremy Renner was finally able to leave the hospital and go home this week following his serious snowplow accident, but it sounds like the Marvel star will have a long road of recovery ahead of him, potentially sidelining him for a few years. Renner, who plays Hawkeye in the MCU, had to undergo emergency surgery after suffering life-threatening injuries when he was accidentally run over by his own snowplow on New Year's Day. Details about the actor's injuries have been vague, with reports that he suffered blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries. Thankfully, the surgeries have been successful, and Renner has been taken to social media to provide updates on the status. The updates have been uplifting, but new details have emerged that paint a much more bleak picture of the actor's condition. Celebrity gossip website Radar Online exclusively reports that friends of Renner's described the actor's condition as much worse. Going into detail, the right side of his chest was crushed and his upper torso was collapsed. He also had a bad head wound that was bleeding and a leg injury. He was in a lot of pain, having difficulty breathing. Word is that the damage to his chest was so substantial it had to be reconstructed in surgery. Oof. So, although Marvel was seemingly on its way to phasing out Renner's Hawkeye, or at least reducing his role, he still played a mentor to Kate Bishop and figured to have at least some role in the future Marvel projects. A 2-year recovery would sideline him till 2025, which puts his availability for filming into question as Avengers: The Kang Dynasty is set to release in May of 2025. All right, there's a lot to talk about here real quick before we wrap it up. But, yeah, I mean, look, I think that even though it was a major accident, so like it was, even when they said he was home, I don't think everybody's like, oh, okay, he's good now. It's like, no, he's going to take a while to recover. And so as far as filming, I mean, look, filming and doing all that, I really think that's the least that anybody should really be worried about or talking about right now. But you also don't know, even if it's one of these things, let's say it takes him 1.5, 2 years to get better. And like, well, filming and then the movie comes out, reshoots. You do a quick scene with him, you put him in there.
Also, the way they ended the show, they could easily have him be more of the old man Hawkeye guy in the chair.
Yeah,
could, and I would honestly like Renner seems to love the character, so I'm not thinking of it from the fan perspective. I want him to do whatever he wants to do, and it's early enough. I think he can. It's early enough in that role they can position like the way the show ended allows for him to come back in whatever capacity he wants to. And I think that after 15 years of the character, that's really unique as an actor to have that kind of responsibility and freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think obviously what you want to do is you want to have dreams and aspirations for the future. But I think similar to like DeMar Hamlin with, the Buffalo Bills and everything, I think the big thing right now is just like, just glad that they're alive. And just getting better.
Get better when you can. You go back to work when you can go back to work. If it's 5 years from now, it's 5 years. All right, everybody.
Feel better, Jeremy Renner.
Feel better, Jeremy Renner, and we're hoping that the recovery is fast, and it's a long road ahead. All right, I want to thank you guys for joining us as always. Thank you to Winston, thank you to Coy for being here, and thank you to you guys, man. Comment though. That is the big thing is comment. Please, please, please comment. It helps us get into the algorithm. It helps people see the show. The reason why we've been getting more eyes on this show is because the comments and the likes have been more every week. And I don't think you guys understand how important that is. A lot of people who are commenting and liking understand how important that is. If you're not and you haven't done it before, and you're like, well, I don't really do the comments or the likes, especially if you're watching on my phone. Do it on the phone like this, like that. That's it. So go ahead and do that. Help us out. And then patreon.com/The Big Thing Show. Go over there. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Very, very important. Thank you guys so very much for that. And then the Black Knight. Get yourself one of those shirts, man. Sweatshirt, whatever it might be. When we go on the road, I'm making sure that that at least one of us is wearing that shirt. And we'll probably sell a few of them.
Oh boy!
We'll probably sell a few of them at the show as well.
Don't worry, you can wear it. You're not gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, you can. Right. Sure.
Oh, this is going so well for me. This is.
No. That was for anybody that was like looking at it like, ooh, like I wanna, but like, am I gonna get in trouble if I wear that? No, you'll be fine, baby. That's it. If anything, you're in trouble if you don't wear it.
That's right. That's right. You're in trouble if you don't. So thank you guys for joining us once again for Winston and for Coy. It's been a fun one. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the flip side.